Hi everybody, today we're going to read another chapter of Old Ben. So far we've found out that Shan, our main character, has made friends with an old black snake. And he took that old snake home and put it in his corn bin so it could feed on the mice in their barn. And he introduced Old Ben to his cousin Ward and his mom and his dad. And hopefully they'd come to accept that snake. Let's find out. The next chapter is called Unlikely Friends. Every morning, Shan helped his mother and father with the milking. Their 12 cows gave over 40 gallons of milk, night and morning. When the milking was done and the cats had been fed, Shan and his mother carried the buckets to the milk house. Shan turned the separator while his mother poured the strained milk into it. Then he carried the cream in cans to the place where it would be picked up by a truck and hauled to the creamery. Meanwhile, Shan's father carried the skim milk to the hog lot and poured it into troughs for the hogs. They squealed and rammed the sides of their pen each morning until they got their warm, skimmed milk. Now, each morning, Shan took milk to Old Ben too. Every evening, the milk was gone and the pan had to be refilled. Old Ben was busy a good part of the day hunting mice in the corn. But often he was curled up, sleeping on an old burlap sack Shan's mother had brought for him as a bed. One morning, Shan had an idea. When the chores were done and his father had gone down to the hog pen, Shan took old Blackie to the house and locked him in a bedroom. Then he hurried back to the corn bin. When he opened the door, old Ben was wide awake and ready to climb up Shan's arm. "Not this morning," Shan told him. "Today, I want you on the ground in your own world. I want you to follow me like old Blackie follows us. I'll be very happy if you can learn to follow me." Shan opened the corn bin door and moved forward quickly to keep old Ben from trying to climb up his leg and around his body to his shoulders. When Shan moved forward, old Ben began to crawl behind him. He held his head high, looking to his right and left and straight ahead. As they moved out of the barn lot and along the path, old Ben left his track behind him. It was a smooth, crooked mark about an inch wide. Only when old Ben moved on the green grass near the house did the trail disappear. Old Ben was down in his world, but he did follow Shan. Just as they reached the front gate, Shan's father came around the corner of the house. He did not see old Ben until Shan opened the gate. Then he cried out, "Shan, what are you thinking, bringing old Ben here? He should stay in the corn bin where he's safe." "It's all right, Father. Blackie's locked in the bedroom. I fastened him up when you were carrying skim milk to the hogs." "Well, I'm certainly glad of that," his father said with relief. "Now that you've brought old Ben here, maybe we'll give old Blackie his first lesson in not killing black snakes. Now you pick up old Ben and give him to me." Shan reached down and lifted old Ben up, and then he laid him over his father's shoulders. "Good," his father said. "Now, go let old Blackie out." "Father, I'm afraid to let him out. And you with old Ben around your neck, you know how high old Blackie can jump." "I'll talk to old Blackie," his father said. "Go let him out." Shan obeyed his father. He went to his room and opened the door. Old Blackie was so glad to get out, he jumped up and kissed Shan's face with his long red tongue. "Easy, Blackie," Shan said. "Easy, not so fast." But old Blackie went running through the house toward the door. When he reached the screen door, he charged against it. "Easy, Blackie, easy now," Shan's father said in a loud voice. Old Blackie looked up and saw the snake on his master's shoulder. He began to bark. "Quiet, Blackie," Shan's father said. "Quiet. No barking." Shan had arrived behind old Blackie and threw his arms around the dog's neck. "Don't hold him, Shan," his father said. "Open the door and let him out. Old Blackie has to meet old Ben." "Well, I'm afraid, Father. He'll jump up and grab old Ben," Shan said. "Old Blackie'll finish him if he ever gets him in his mouth." "I'll see to it that he doesn't get old Ben," his father said. Shan opened the door and held his hands over his face. He was sure old Ben would be killed. Old Blackie rushed out the door, barking and growling, and leaped up to get the black snake from his master's shoulder. I told you, Shan. He took his hands from his face. I told you. His father reached with his big hand and pushed Blackie backward. Old Blackie hit the ground hard. He couldn't understand this treatment. He got up and stood looking at his master with sorrow in his big black eyes. I told you to be easy, Blackie, Shan's father said. I told you no. Old Ben is our friend, and you're our friend, and we want you to leave old Ben alone. Old Blackie was a very sad dog. He just couldn't understand. Come up here, Blackie, Shan's father said. I want you to touch lips with old Ben. I want you to know your friend better. Let's see what happens. When his father reached up and lifted old Ben down and held him in his arms, Blackie watched. And after he had been shoved back once with his master's hand, he didn't attempt to make another wild leap. He stood there looking up at the snake. Shan's father held the snake in his big arms against his body to protect it from his dog. He held its neck in his hand. Gently, he put the snake's head out toward Blackie. Easy, easy, Blackie, he said softly. Don't bite. Blackie could not have bitten old Ben without biting his master's hand. He stood very still while Mick put old Ben's hard lips up to Blackie's. Old Ben squirmed, for he knew most dogs were his enemies. Blackie didn't like the feel of the snake's hard lips, but he didn't move. Father, you did just right, Shan said. Now Blackie knows you don't want him to kill old Ben. It will still take some time before Blackie learns never to bother old Ben, his father said. But Blackie's a smart dog. Then he put old Ben in Shan's hands. Take him back to the corn bin, his father said. He'll need a little rest in his own home now. Shan walked along the path toward the barn with old Ben wrapped around his arm. He didn't put him down on the ground to follow. He was afraid Blackie might come running to get him. And here's a picture of old Blackie trying to get old Ben. Okay, tomorrow we're going to read A Member of the Family. I'm going to wonder what that means, if he's a member of, if everybody accepts him into the family. Okay, we will read that one tomorrow. Thanks for listening. We love you guys and miss you.